Hello everybody, this is Tarina. I am back with another card. I will have some layouts coming in soon, but right now I'm going to be working on this card. This is using the Custom Ornament die set, only turning it upside down to make a hot air balloon. I've never done this before, so this is the first time I'm going to do it. You guys, so I will be fast forwarding the video, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea as to kind of what supplies I'm going to be using. I've got my white daisy for ink blending and my ink blending tool. I want to do the sentiment in silver embossing powder, so I have that kind of stuff. I might be using the Woodland Greetings for somebody in one of these characters in the basket that's in taking the balloon ride. So we will see how this goes. It will be interesting. Like I said, I've never done this before, so let's get to it. Alright, so I've made myself kind of a little kit, just kind of getting ideas as what I wanted to use and just stick them in the bag. Now, just generally, I don't always use what's in the bag, but for the most part, that's kind of what I'm going for. I'm using the Custom Ornament Thincuts from Close to My Heart, and I will, of course, have the links in the description box below. I'm doing 2 layers of the ornament. One is going to go on top of the other. The peach color is going to go on top of the silver, and then the blue card base is going to be the background. So that's kind of what I'm going to do as far as my style. The reason I chose this particular piece instead of the more scalloped edged one was because this one allowed me to fit my sentiment on there that I wanted to fit. So now as I put this on here, I realized that it's going to cut that dot down by the edge of the balloon, and I don't want to make it all the way down there. So I just kind of set the edge of the balloon right off, where the hot air part is. I just kind of set that off to the edge, and you'll see that it just doesn't go down to that area, which is kind of how I wanted it to look. So that's what I'm going off of, or that's what I did. And then I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 pieces together. Now, I definitely will use liquid glass for this. I don't know of anything else. I mean, I guess glue dots might work, but the double-sided adhesive might work as well. But I do know that the ATG and any tape runners, they generally don't work on this glitter if you're going on top of the glitter. So the glitter paper. Yeah. So when I adhere these down together, I definitely want to put some weight on it. So I just use a acrylic block. And then I'm going to start on my card front. So I kind of just wanted to see where I wanted it, which kind of determined how big my basket was going to be. I could have used the little ornament topper for my basket, but it just seemed so small, and I knew I wanted to use the Woodland Greetings character, one of the characters. And so that's when I decided, you know what, I'm just going to hand cut it. And I'm just kind of rounding the corners so that it's not quite so square. It looks a little large to me, and I think I shrink it a little bit, but maybe I don't know. But I definitely want to make sure it's big enough to hold my character, whichever one I end up choosing. So this is the Woodland Greetings stamp set, and as you can see, there's cute characters in here. I am really excited to be able to get to color these guys. I definitely need to get me a brown, like, stays on. I think I have one, but I don't know. It seems like it's really sticky, which I'm assuming is dried up. So I'm using the stays on not stays on, VersaMark ink, and I'm just stamping this leaves from the Woodland Greetings stamp set. And see, it just darkens the craft color and makes it just a darker version of the craft color. And so I'm just kind of going around the edges of my basket, just kind of give it some definition, which I really could have done that to the balloon as well. I didn't, but I could have. I probably should have. So I did want to add some kind of definition, so I went in with the peach color and I just kind of darkened the edges just a little bit, but I honestly think I could have added a little bit of a darker color, like a toffee color, maybe vintage photo. They kind of are in the same color family. But yeah, so I go around this a few times with the peach Inkpad and my blending tool, and it just kind of gives it a little bit of definition so that it's not all just a flat color. And when I mean a little definition, I mean a little little definition, but I still like how it turns out. I mean, I think I actually go back over it one more time. But and these clouds were actually from one of my previous cards that I did with my with deer on it. I will leave a link in the description box below for this, because I used all of these negative pieces and some of the positive pieces, and I made a background with it. And so I'm kind of doing the same, similar technique. I have my White Daisy Pigment ink pad from Close to My Heart, and I'm just kind of making clouds and as I go. And I had cut these out with trying to make a die. They like go with this negative piece that I'm using for a stencil, and I love how it turned out, because you can use those pieces over and over and over again. So yeah, I like that. I really like that. So I'm just making some clouds so that the balloon is floating in the clouds, and then those extra pieces are going to go at the bottom to kind of ground the bottom, give the balloon somewhere to be other than just in the sky. It's in the clouds as well. So that's kind of what I'm going off of. So now we're going to go ahead and stick this down. Now the inking on the background, I didn't really want it to be a whole bunch of inking. I wanted it to be fairly light, and as it dries, it really turns out a bit lighter than I had expected, but I still like it because it's not really heavy on the card. That's one thing I didn't want, was the clouds to be too heavy and take away from the balloon. So I'm just going to add some foam adhesive to the back of the cloud in the front, and then I trim off after I just try to gauge it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that's just too much. So I pull that one off and go ahead and pull all my backing off. And then I remember my basket has to fit in there somewhere, so I take a little bit of the foam tape off. And then I pull my backing off and put it on there. Now, for me, I did this as a thank you card, but you could definitely do it as like a baby card, or congratulations, or thinking of you. Any of those kinds of things would work. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for right there. I want the basket to kind of hide behind it because it's such a dark color. So I just kind of want it to hide behind the clouds. Make it look like the balloon is coming up out of the clouds. And I'm using the Why Thank You stamp from Close to My Heart. I love that they have these single stamps that they're so, obviously this is a thank you, so you can only use it for generally thank you. But, well, first off, we can be thankful for lots of different things, right? But, yeah, it's an M size stamp set, so it's like usually around $3 and something. cents, $3.95 I think, which is, I love that price. I love that price. And it's something that you can use in so many different ways. Like this time I'm using it with silver embossing powder, and I've used it with ink, and there's just so many different ways that you can use it, and I love that. I really love that. And so you can definitely tailor it to whatever card or, you're making project. So I didn't make quite as big of a mess with this silver embossing powder as I did before. When I open the package, I always twist it like with both hands, and I'm always leaning the container sideways, and I don't realize I'm leaning it until I open unscrew the lid, and it like dumps all over the place. So I had my heat gun on for a couple of seconds before I brought it up here, so it really heated up very quickly, and I love how it turned out. It's so pretty. That is one thing that I love about this is so I could totally see like spring cards, like, Easter cards with this, it is very versatile. You can, I honestly got really excited when I first saw this. I was like, oh, there's so many things that you could, events and holidays you can use this for. Because really hot air balloons are universal for spring and summer, and even you could even do it in fall colors, like do it in browns and oranges, with tones of red or leaves or whatever you wanted to do, and you could make it a fall hot air balloon. So you can definitely and just change up your sentiment to whatever seasonal, whatever you wanted, and I just love it. I love it. It's definitely kind of a year-round thin cut, and so yeah, I'm really excited to have it. Yeah, so this is it. Now I wanted to add some string to hold the basket, for the basket to hang off of, and I decided to go with white twine from Close to My Heart. And I'm just like, I'm not exactly sure how I want to do this. I did know that I wanted to poke some holes in, or cut some holes in the top corners of the basket, and so I did that. I think it's like a 1/16 punch. I don't know. It doesn't have the size on there anymore, and I'm pretty certain it's smaller than an eighth. So I would say 1/16 circle punch. For those of you interested in that, I don't know exactly where you find them, but I've had that one for a long time. So I got myself out my needles. They're like upholstery needles, kind of, and decided to go ahead and use that for this part. And then I just tied a knot and trimmed off the end, and poked it through. So first I was going to stick this down with liquid glass, and then after I did it and it sat there for a while, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I need to lift it up on foam tops. Or foam tape. So that's what I decided to do with the basket. I definitely pull it up and put it on a foam tape. And then these strings, I'm like, I really don't know what to do with them. And then I was like, well, I wonder if I can, like, add them, like, you'll see what I'm doing. I just kind of stick it right up in between where that die cut was, and into the decorations, and just kind of, add it in that way. And I'm like, that's actually kind of works really well, because most balloons have a ring, or, a rope around the bottom, and then a rope around the top to kind of hold it in, and then ropes that go from the bottom to the top, and just kind of, hold the fabric in. And so I was like, that will work perfect. So that's what I go ahead and do with this, and I just kind of, I loop it around twice, and then I go up to the next one up top and loop that around, and then you'll see that I go back and forth a couple of different times, just because I'm kind of going I mean, thinking as I go. I don't really have any like specific plans. I just kind of want to, see what I can do. And then once I do this, I'm like, you know what I could do is I could just put this end right back down through here, and that will hold it in place. And then it'll look like kind of like tassels on the hanging down from the balloon, which I have seen many times on hot air balloons. And so I was like, all right, that works. I'm gonna cut that, and I mean that's for the most part the card. I love how that string actually worked out like that. But yeah, so I decided to start on it. This is where I'm like, oh, it needs to go up on foam tape. And then I gotta figure out the sizes because I cut this foam tape into a whole bunch of different sizes, and I have to find what size I want, which takes a whole lot more time than it did before. But I am glad that I'm able to actually have them at, specific sizes. So that goes right down there. I'm like, why is it not going down where I had it? And then I realized that the little cloud on the right hand side is kind of pushing on it and stopping it from going down there. So I do a little bit of surgery and then try to get it back in there. And then I'm like, I'll put the cloud onto the basket, and then it didn't. My glue didn't come out. And so I had to squish it again and put it down. Now I'm trying to figure out who looks best in this, and honestly I don't know that I chose the right character, but because I ended up having to uh, paint, I don't know, I'm going to say paint, ink and paint, I guess, I don't know. I ended up having to do this little guy twice. I kind of show you guys what I did with the first one here. I left that in, and then I just show you how I replaced the second one, replaced the first one with the second one. And generally it's the same kind of coloring techniques. Nothing special because I'm not I don't color, professionally. Definitely not professionally, but I can get it to where I'm okay with it, and sometimes where I love it, and that is what matters to me. So this one I decided, you know what, I'm thinking maybe just to have the hands hanging out would be cute, or arms, and so that's when I decide, you know what, I'm just going to leave that. So I zoom in a bit, and I give this guy some color, and so the difference between the second bear and the first one is I start out with espresso ink instead of the toffee from Close to My Heart, and I do a little bit less here by the muzzle because I don't want it, I don't know, it just kind of blended in once I did that. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do that. And you'll kind of see how it looks different in the final version. One thing that I don't know that I like about these stamps is the eyes are closed. And I just don't know. I know that having the eyes open, it opens up more of a copyright infringement kind of thing with all of the other companies, but because most people want their eyes open. But you can do this. You can just color them in, and I am really I'm really a stickler when it comes to these eyes. I don't know what it is, but I don't know, I kind of struggle with them. So you'll kind of see how that turns out with the second one, because the first one is just kind of wild. So yeah, I don't know. I added some of my Arteza Real Brush pen onto a block and added some water, and just trying to tone down the white, which I could have stamped him on something else, which probably would have been a wise idea, but I didn't do it. And I'm totally out of focus when I add the black to his eyes and his nose, and it is so black, like it's so black, it didn't work. It just didn't. And then my children took off with my white gel pen, so I don't have any white to make like, reflective light on their eyes and nose, the damp surfaces. So that I was not very happy about that, I would have to say. So I went and got my white pigment ink, my white daisy pigment ink, and I just got a paintbrush and kind of just, I'm totally off camera for this, sorry about that. Um, Add some really huge white things on the, on the eyes. And yeah, and here I zoom back out. So I go ahead and add him down, and then I add some liquid glass onto his eyes, and the black is just like staring at me, like really staring at me. So in the end, I just take some little off-camera time and redo the bear. I redo the bear. And I don't know if he's better necessarily or not, but I guess I kind of like him better. And you'll see coming up that I kind of peel him up and decide, you know what, I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to stamp with my espresso ink. So for me, this kind of makes a big difference as far as, the other one didn't have much of an outline, and that was kind of bugging me. He kind of, I don't know, he looked like no line coloring, and I struggle with no line coloring for flowers. It's really cool looking. For like animals and that kind of thing, I don't know. I like the look of having a definitive line. So having the espresso helps with that. Now, that being said, I do wish that I had the brown stays on, like a new pack or new ink pad of the brown that stays on. And Close to My Heart does offer that, which I am very excited about because I'm going to have to get my hands on that. For things like this, it will work perfect for watercoloring and using your any watercolors like the brush pens that I'm using as well. So you'll be able to see the difference here. I'm not going to make you watch all of this, so I will show you the old bear and the new bear and show you my finished card. I didn't add any bling, which is kind of crazy for me, but I am happy with how it turned out, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.